Well, welcome to my thought of the week. And I bring this to you from a very dry and totally unflooded back garden, but more of that later. Um, Thought of the week. I've not found this very easy, actually. I prefer doing to thinking. Keir does the thinking on our behalf. She's much better at it than I am. So, my thought for the week, what I'd like to do is start by reading you a little passage from an article that has recently appeared in the Church Times, which is a rivetingly good read. The article is entitled, "Is the Coronavirus a Judgment of God?" Now, you'll be glad to know that I am not going to be tackling that question. What I'd rather do is just read you this little section of it. In particular, it reveals once again that we are not in control. Much of modern life is built around the notion that we can manage our future and control nature with technology, science, or politics that will resist the tide like some modern day King Canute. Yet this virus places us face to face with our vulnerability and our mortality. Those who think that they rule the world are in the grip, of a deep delusion. So my thought for the week is about control. Now, for those of you that know me well, you will know that I love analogies. It is my chosen medium for conveying for conveying a message whenever possible. And the one that's been flashing around my mind for a while goes like this. Where is Jesus in my car? And if you would like to play along, where is Jesus in your car? So, is Jesus in my boot? He's on the journey, but is very safely out of sight and out of earshot. Or do I have Jesus on the back passenger seat? So again, on the journey, but of very little influence. Or do I have Jesus on the front passenger seat? Now, Mr. Blackbird has come to join us. Yes, on the front passenger seat, he has much more influence and might even be navigating or guiding us. Or, and I think you know where I'm going with this, is he in the front driving seat? Now, I'm trying to work out at the moment whether I'm meant to be in the front driving seat with him as well, or is it meant to be just him? But we'll deal with that on another day. Now, Keir and I have gone on a number of dog walks recently, and we have found that we're a captive audience, so we have some of our best chats on these walks. And one thing that we have realized recently is that we connect best with God in totally opposite situations or circumstances. So for Keir, when life is really tough, when life is really difficult, her prayer life increases and she leans into that love, that grace of God. Whereas for me, it's when life is really easy, when I'm joyful, that I connect with God best, where I'm most ready to pray and offer worship. The last 6 months have been really tough. And unfortunately, I have a tendency when things are really tough to put God on the back seat. And if I'm honest, I'd probably put him in the boot. And if I'm really honest, I'd probably leave him on the side of the road and reassure him that I will pop back later on to pick him up when I've done the tough bit of the journey. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but I'm one of 3 boys. And whenever we would go on a long journey with my father, he would be obviously he'd be driving and we would be on the back seat. And if he didn't know where he was, or the traffic was particularly difficult, he would turn round and say, "Will you shut up? I'm trying to concentrate." And I think I can be a little bit like that. I might say to God, "Will you shut up? I'm trying to concentrate because things have got a bit difficult." So these last 6 months have been a tough time, a challenging time, and they've been tough and challenging for a number of people. I certainly don't have a monopoly on having a tough time. COVID-19 and lockdown has been unbearable for many people, and my heart goes out to them. But my 6 months have looked a little bit like this, or have looked like this. So it began when a member of my staff was tragically killed in a workplace accident, um, which was devastating to me and those within my company. And the ramifications of that are still not known. That's an ongoing process. That was followed in February by 2 storms. And the second of those storms and the rain that came with it proved to be too much for our house, and we flooded. And I don't know, hopefully if the technology is working, there might be some pictures coming up just to show what our house was like during that flooding time. Very different to the backdrop you can see behind me now, which is much nicer. So we flooded and we had to move out of our house, and we are still out of our house now, with a likely return date sometime in June, where if lockdown is over, you'll all be welcome to a big party. So we're looking forward to that enormously. So we had the flooding, we moved out of our house, and then literally a few days later, the company that I am the managing director of and the group that I work for went into administration. So in effect, we went out of business, albeit for a very short period of time, and we now have new owners. The thing about going into administration is you run the risk of losing your supply chain and all your customers. So this was a particularly nerve-wracking period of time, and we're not fully out of it yet, but we are more so than not, put it like that. Then, as we know, COVID-19 struck in March. It had been around before, but in a meaningful way, it struck in March. And running a cleaning business, you can only imagine the demands that were put upon us, especially as we clean a number of rolling stock within public transport, most notably buses. So that became very challenging to make sure that we were up to speed and doing everything that we should be doing in a compliant and safe way. To make matters worse, and this has to be confirmed with a test, Keir and I developed the COVID-19 virus and spent 2 weeks feeling particularly poorly. Having said that, we got it very mildly in comparison to obviously lots of people. So we're very grateful for that. But that was quite a tough time, having that plus dealing with everything else. COVID-19 and this period of lockdown, for me and a number of other people who run businesses, we are now reflecting quite deeply on what business protection is and what job protection is. So I'm at the forefront of those judgment calls about how to protect the business and those people within it, and what cost savings might be needed in order to protect the business. And I found that challenging, definitely, because we're talking about people's lives. Finally, I suppose just to put another layer of challenge, a good friend of mine who is the managing director of a sister company is leaving the business. And in some ways it's a good thing, in some ways it's a bad thing, but I've been appointed as managing director of his business as well as my own. So I'm now looking after, or the MD for 2 businesses, so with double the workload. So you can imagine trying to take over a business from your bedroom, from your front room, brings with it its challenges. Now, I don't tell you all of that for sympathy or for any other reason than it tying into my thought for the week about being in control. So everything I thought I knew, everything that was dear to me, well, not everything, but a number of things that I took for granted were suddenly flipped over, and I had to deal with things all at the same time, which made me reflect on my level of control or lack of it, and where was God in all of this. So if I'm being really honest, it's very true to say that during that period I often told God to shut up while I concentrated. And as I reflect on all the WhatsApp images and postings and everything else on social media that talks about a time of reflection, a time of quiet, I have to confess I am a little envious. I would love to have all of that time available. I'm sure I'd fill it with a load of jobs, but that's just me. So I am trying very much to put God in the driver's seat, and I think the best I'm going to do is to put him in the driver's seat with me. Now, I don't know if that resonates with you at all. I often hear things, especially in church, that I agree with, and I see and hear the truth in it, and I think, yeah, actually, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. But on occasions, not always, but on occasions, I think to myself, yeah, but what does that look like in reality? What does that look like in my life, in my everyday life? So this idea of control, this idea of Jesus being in the driver's seat, let me give you my 3 thoughts as to how that looks like in my life, in a real way. There are 3 of them, which is totally contradicting my occasional preacher's course, which tells me never to package things up conveniently in 3, but there we go. So number 1, start the day right. Start the day for me means waking up at about 5:30 and handing the day over to God and being grateful for it. I have to do it before I get out of bed, because if I do it after I've got out of bed, then the irresistible draw of the emails will overtake me. So the first thing I do is offer the day and be grateful for it. The second thing is we make a number of decisions throughout the course of our day. And some of those decisions are very easy and straightforward, and some are quite difficult, especially those that involve others. So whenever I have difficult decisions to make, I try to stop and allow myself just a moment or two just to pray about it. And what I pray is for right judgment, Now, this is something that Archdeacon Paul gave me. We had a chat recently, and I found it in the Bible, and it's in John 7, verse 24, and it says, "Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment." And at the moment and recently, that's what I've been trying to do, to not just react in a worldly way, but to pray for that righteous judgment. And then the third thing is throughout the day to continually ask myself, when it occurs to me, where is Jesus in my car at that time? So rather than offering the day up to God at the start of the day, and then maybe having a contemplation at the end of the day and missing him out of the entire middle, I try and ask myself throughout the course of the day, where are you now? Are you in the boot? Are you on the back seat? Or are you in control? And I suppose in reality, I've realised that most of the time, or a lot of the time, he's probably on the side of the road, and I'm reassuring him I will come back and collect him later. But it does me good to realise that, and to go back and collect him and put him back in the driver's seat. So I'd like to finish with a song. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing. The song is Oceans, and I know that this has been played before, but if you'll indulge me, we'll play it again. It's been the go-to song in my toughest times, because I just love the words, which I will read to you now. "And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine."
You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand, and I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't stop now. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. My faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. My faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace.